Hi guys. So this is a Proto Rail 27. Came in yesterday. This belongs to my brother Raj, and he bought it off eBay. Um, with this vid, I wanted to illustrate what was important when it came to buying things new or used on eBay. Let's see. Well, the biggest thing is understanding what eBay is. eBay is essentially the conduit in which two people buy or sell things. So it is still an individual type of transaction, even though there are a lot of precautions eBay takes to prevent any type of fraud from going on. So now this was used. It was supposedly only used a couple of times, so it's practically new. At least that's the way it's described. So first thing we have to look for is how close to the description it is from when we actually bought it. So I'm going to put that aside and start opening this. We got manual. It's a little frayed, understandable. It's on the paper. Got a brand new. I'm not really sure this is the stock barrel cover. I really doubt it. Let's see. So this is the actual gun. I would say it's very accurate. It actually looks very, very new. This is the reg. Probably going to change that because I actually have a red one lying around. But first we got to figure out if all the things are in here. So now we got the actual gun. We got the barrel, which you could tell was used. So this is a used gun. But the barrel looks fairly new. Not too bad. It does come with the O-ring kit as if it was new, so that's pretty cool. Until this was a little tattered. It does come with a set of Allen keys. I'm not sure if this came with it originally, but either way, it's nice to have extra Allen keys. And dye-stick lube. That's awesome. So essentially, my brother has everything he needs from this. Looks like there was something here. Really can't tell you what it was, as I don't really know what these things are like when they're new. So, missing that. Not too bad. But this was everything that was pictured in the auction, so it was very accurate to description. Fantastic. Put that aside. Now, first thing we want to look to do is we need the Allen key. See? Let's grab that. First thing we want to look to do is whenever buying a gun from eBay, you don't immediately air it up and see if it works. It's probably the worst thing you can do for your gun, because it might not work, and then you're gonna get upset, and it might not necessarily be the seller's fault. So the first thing you want to take all those things out of the equation. So we're going to maintain this thing as if we went out to play and it needed some sort of maintenance. First thing I want to put in here is a battery to make sure the board turns on. Right? There's a battery in there, but I'm on the wrong side of it again. This is a 2011 PMR. I mean, brand new, this would be $300 plus shipping if they had shipping. Brother got this for $200. I would say that's a pretty good deal considering this is practically new in every sense of the word. Now, there was a battery in there we saw. I want to see if this turns on, see if the battery's actually fresh. No. Okay, it doesn't look like it turns on, so I'm pretty sure the battery's dead. So we're going to take the battery out. That's done. Battery is pretty easy to take out. And that's it. Isn't that cool? This was the original Proto battery, as it even says. Ah, now I know what went into that slot. This actually fits into that slot perfectly. This is the battery, original battery. So it actually did come with everything as if it was new, except the battery doesn't work. So now I have a rechargeable battery. I like these batteries because they're not exactly 9 volts, so they're a little under 9 volts, but they work very well with guns, and they won't burn out your board. When buying rechargeable batteries, you should always check the voltage, because some actually are very, very strong, and they are over 9 volts, and they can burn out your board. So it's something to look for, especially if you like rechargeable batteries like I do. So now we're looking for the positive end. We match positive ends with the. It's a little tight, but I think it's supposed to be that way. It's nothing to do with the actual battery, because these batteries, I know energized batteries are actually quite thin for rechargeable batteries. It's really cool. So I'm going to put that in. I guess in this video I will actually show you how to maintain a PMR as well, since it's going to be part of the process of buying a used gun. So the first thing we want to do is test to see if the board turns on. I mean, with electro guns, if the board doesn't turn on, you have a broken gun. So it's done. We're going to try to turn it on, and it turns on. Now we want to see if the eyes work. To tell that with this gun is, you'll notice that it's red. That means the eyes are on, and when I pull the trigger, nothing actually happens. Now I'm going to turn the eyes off, and you notice it's going to blink. And when I pull the trigger, it's going to flash green. It does flash green. You might not be able to see it. I think the settings for this thing are a little the trigger sensitivity on this thing is a little bit different. So we definitely need to tune this marker to my brother's style of play. Unfortunately, I can't do that without him here. So the only thing I can do is make sure it's clean and lubed properly. Now I know I have dye-stick lube. I have my own Dow 33, which is used for spool valve guns and the such. You wouldn't use this on mechanical guns, as that would use gun oil. Okay, so let's take out the bolt and clean this baby up. How can you tell if this is a 2011? One of the new features of the 2011 was this eye tube. So that's how I know that I actually got the right product. Now, we're going to take out the back. This only requires one turn, but the bolt has screws in it too. So you're actually required to push this out with some force on the bolt. Let's see if I can get it in from here. Yep, there you go. See? Alright. It doesn't look like there's a lot of lube on this thing, which isn't a terrible thing. It just means that it's possible that they didn't. This is the bolt. It's possible that they didn't clean it too well, or they didn't lube. They didn't want to use so much lube. Okay, so we really don't need this in here. We could probably put a towel through this and a barrel swab afterwards. Let's see. Looks pretty clean. I would say it's okay. I would still wipe it down with a paper towel. Now, what I want to do with this is get a. I like paper towels because you generally get them brand new and they're clean. What do I need? I need a dental pick to get these O-rings off. Very useful for taking out O-rings. Now, with this bolt, the one O-ring that you actually need this for is okay. I'm gonna have to unscrew this first. It's one piece. And push the bolt forward. Use something soft. You don't want to scratch your bolt and things like that. It's kind of tight in there. Feels like there's not enough lube. With this bolt, you need to take out this O-ring right here. This is for thorough bolt cleaning. I mean, ideally you would want to, what you would want to do is you would actually take out all these O-rings, clean them up a little bit, and then you want to make sure that there's no dirt hiding in any type of crevices within the bolt. With spool valve guns, it's very dangerous to have any type of debris in your bolt, as it does affect performance dramatically. Any type of foreign material would do that. Okay, so that's the entire bolt setup minus this. That would be your eye tube. So what I do, I would usually wipe this off, then go to the sink and rinse it off, and I would make sure there's no dirt within the threads, because you don't want any of that stuff to scratch your bolt. And make sure all the old lube is off. I mean, it's no good. It's definitely bad lube. I mean, supposedly on the auction it said that this was serviced before he came here by a dye technician. I don't really care about that, because even dye techs can fuck up. Especially if you're not terrible at this, your best bet is to make sure that you at least do this. I mean, it helps you get a little more, it gets you a little more familiar with the process, and it's never a bad thing to have an extra cleaning on your gun. With any gun. With any gun, it's true. These O-rings look fantastic. It looks like this guy really didn't use this too often. But with spool valves, you generally don't have to, if you take care of them from game to game, you really don't have to change a lot of internal parts. Now, there really is no recommended upgrade for this particular gun. However, there are aftermarket parts that do help improve performance dramatically. One of these things would be the actual bolt. Now, which brand of bolt you buy is entirely up to you. Personally, I'm very sold on the Tech TL7 bolt for this gun, which I will be getting for my PMR. I don't know if my brother's going to get it for his PMR. His bolt's actually very clean. The PMR I bought off of eBay, unfortunately, has a lot of damaged pieces in the bolt. I don't know what this original owner was doing with the bolt, but it looks like he was trying to cut it or something. So I definitely don't like the fact that my bolt looks like shit. But the body's very important, and it's clean for my gun. And this one is fantastic. It's in superb condition. So I'm actually very happy. Glad my brother got a good deal. Alright, so we're making sure all the lube is gone. And we will rinse it down, make sure everything's dry. And that's it. I've wiped off all the grease, which is important. Even on the eye tube. Now the eye tube is very cool, because what it does is it covers up the eyes so that if paint ever breaks in your breech, it doesn't leak in your eyes. And when you're on the field, cleaning your eyes are terrible, and it's one of the things that you really don't want to be doing, because it requires so much unscrewing. Now what this does is it prevents that. It prevents the need for that. All you have to do is pull this out, rinse it, wipe it down, stick it back in the gun, and your eyes are clean again, because there's no paint on your eyes originally. It's just on this thing. Okay, so gonna go wash everything up, and I will come back and lube it. Alright guys, back, and looks like I had some residual lube here, which isn't terrible, but it's hard. Never realized there was a little hole over here, but we'll try to clean that up. It's not a big deal. Little hole over here. There. That's fine. Okay, so now, when applying lube to spool valve, a lot of people, they'll tell you, don't apply too much. You might clog up your solenoid hoses or whatever the hell. Yeah, you know, one thing you should understand with spool valve guns is they're very they love grease. They really do love grease. So it's, if you don't have enough grease on them, they're really not going to function very well. So you're really going to get screwed when you have to take this apart and do it on the field. So I would say apply grease generously, very generously, and you know, don't be shy about putting grease on, because you know, grease isn't even expensive. You get a tube like this. I mean, this was expensive. I bought it at a paintball shop, so it's pretty expensive. Dow 33s, you can probably get it in a hardware store, which is a very good lube for spool valve guns. So now we're going to put this back together. We want to make sure any metal to metal contact has grease on it. All O-rings have grease on it. You want to put a lot of grease on the O-rings. Make sure they seal properly. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. You want to put a lot of grease. You want to make sure this thing slides in like fantastically. So that's done. I'm going to stick the bolt into this chamber. Right? Actually feels a lot better than when I took it apart. So now this bolt, this O-ring, goes in. What this O-ring does is it actually locks this bumper in place, so it doesn't go flying anywhere. Not that there's a lot of room to fly, but very dangerous. So you want to grease the O-ring first. Put some grease in the thing, in the little space the O-ring goes into. Drop the O-ring in, and you want to put a little bit more grease on the O-ring. See how I love putting grease on this? I mean, it's always a good idea. So you want to put more grease on the tail bolt. Make sure it seals properly. If it doesn't seal properly, you're gonna get a leak out of the gun. Okay, so that's done. Yeah, when threading it in, there was no resistance. There was no grits of sand or dirt in the threads, which is what I highly recommend checking when it comes to cleaning. You want to make sure you get into those threads. Make sure all that debris is out of there. So we're gonna put this. Finally, we're gonna put this piece in. Since we cleaned out the back bolt, I'm gonna put some more grease over here, especially on this O-ring right here. So it's got to travel all the way back there, and as it travels back there, it's gonna push all the grease to the front. So I'm gonna make sure you have adequate amounts of grease. So we're gonna do that, and I'm gonna screw that back in, and you shouldn't see that yellow O-ring. That's how you know it's screwed in. So you want to grease that too, and we're going to stick this back in the gun. Wipe your hands, and drop it back in. Now, this does require a little bit of wiggling when it comes to putting it back in, because of all the O-rings, and you don't want it to get snagged on anything. Just want to do it very slowly. You want to do it very carefully, and you want to make sure everything sets properly. Just wiggle it. If you feel it hit something, just wiggle it a little bit, and it should flow naturally in, and it should feel like O-rings coming into contact with the surface. So now, bolt is all the way in. We want to get the Allen key in here, and that's it. One whole turn. That's all it takes. Now that we have the cleaning done, and we know that the board turns on, we want to know if this thing actually airs up, if there's a leak or anything. So in order to do that, you actually need air. Generally, what I like to do, you should always set the board to stock configuration, which is your best thing you could do. Now, with these manuals, they actually tell you what the stock configuration is, which is very easy to do. Now over here, if you'll notice on the manual, I don't know if you can see that, but it says factory default for trigger sensitivity is 5, factory default for the dwell is 40, fire rate is 10 BPS, which we set to 3. We're going to set it to 30 so that it gets max BPS. Because the max BPS on this is 15, and over here it's actually not 15, it's actually 14.28. And the firing mode we're going to keep on semi, which is value 1. In order to do that, it's very easy on these particular guns. We're going to open the grip frame. You're going to have to keep this grip unscrewed for this process. I actually forgot to put in the eye tube. We'll do that in a minute, as soon as I get these screws off. Let's drop this eye tube back in before I forget. Now the O-ring, it's not even an O-ring, the detents is orange, so you want that to be the front of the gun. Now, you have to kind of align it because there's a hole on top. You want to make sure balls can actually drop in. And looks good. It actually sets in there. There's a little catch there that makes sure it's in the right position. So now, in order to put this into configuration mode according to the manual, is we have to set both these. Make sure the gun's off. We have to set both these little flip switches onto the on position. If you can see the flip switches, they're right there. Now they're both up, so that means they're on. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn it on, and you're going to notice that the light's going to flash. And now it's green. Normally when you turn it on it would be red. So that's how you know you're actually in the configuration mode. So now we're gonna change the configurations back to the stock settings. How you do that is in the green mode, which is the trigger sensitivity mode, we're going to press and hold until it flashes. Now it flashed 3 times, I think. Regardless, now it's done flashing. We're gonna 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're done. Now you notice it flashed, right? So now the green setting is set. We're gonna now go to the dwell setting. In order to do that, we just hit it very quickly, and you notice it's red. Red is the dwell setting. Now factory setting is 40, so we're gonna change that. Now it's blinking. This is gonna show you what the old value is. If you want, you can count it. You really don't have to. It does take a little while since this is dwell. And it's stock. I might forward this part. Might not. Okay, done. So now we're going to set it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. Right? Done. Okay, now it's dwell settings done. Notice it went back to green. So now we're going to go to the blue, which is rate of fire. There you go, blue. Now we're going to set this to 30, which would be 15 BPS. I think he might actually had it on 30. But again, you want to make sure this thing is shooting the way you want it to shoot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Bam, done. Back to green. So now we're going to do the semi-automatic, which is the yellow. Yellow. So now it's going to just be value 1. This was on 2, so it was actually on Millennium mode. So you want to just put it on 1. And you're done. Back to green. Okay, so now, once you're done, you can't actually turn on turn off the gun until you actually flip the switch back down. Now I'm going to show you what happens when you flip the switch down because they're on opposite sides. So I'm going to flip the second switch, which is number 2, right there. I'm going to pull that down to the off position. And you notice how it blinks, and that is the board saving your settings. So now you can actually turn off the gun. You don't have to turn off the gun, but I like turning it off and then turning it back on just because I'm crazy like that. So now I'm going to turn off the eyes to make sure this thing is on semi mode. So normally on ramping you would notice that you can hear the solenoid clicking away, and if it starts clicking faster than your fingers are moving, you're probably on ramping mode. If it clicks about the same, exactly the same as your trigger pull, then you are definitely on semi, which is fantastic. You want to be on semi because all fields will allow you to play on semi. Not all fields will allow you to play on any type of ramping or full auto. And it's always good to train yourself to shoot faster and not to train the gun to shoot faster. You know, you only make yourself better in that sense. Alright, so now that everything is good, the next phase would be to actually air it up to see if there's any leaks. And finally, to shoot it and chrono it to make sure it shoots at the proper velocity. Unfortunately, it's raining outside, so I won't be doing any shooting today. But I will air it up to make sure there's no leaks. Okay. What I like to do before airing up a used gun like this, which I have absolutely no idea how the previous owner, the previous owner could have been a moron. Not to say that this one was, because this is a very clean gun, but previous owner could have been a moron. And you want to take all those equations out of yours. So now we want to make sure how to set the velocity. I know how to set the velocity, but you know, as this is a new gun, you should always check velocity adjustment. It says the factory setting is at 165 psi. There is no gauge on this gun, so there's no way you can actually tell what the pressure is inside the gun. And because of that, your best thing for you to do is to make sure you keep this lowered, because you don't know if the previous owner actually did anything. So it says turning the adjustment screw in a clockwise will decrease the pressure. That's exactly what we want to do. So the adjustment screw is actually down here, you know, and so you want to turn it clockwise. So when you're turning it clockwise, it's based on how you look at the gun from the bottom, not from the top. So you want to turn this thing clockwise to lower it. What we're going to do is we're going to lower it a full turn. A full turn is actually a lot for the gun. And since we're not shooting this today, I just want to make sure that the gun airs up and seals. So I made sure that the pressure on this gun is lower. So now we're going to drop the tank in. And you're going to hear a noticeable pop, and that would be the bolt coming back and going into the open position. I guess the bolt was already back when we put it in. Okay, so now you want to keep the eyes off, because if you kept the eyes on, show you, kept the eyes on, nothing's going to happen. You don't even hear the solenoid click. It's aired up right now. So now we're going to keep the eyes off so that we know there's air in the gun. I'm pretty sure the air is in the gun. Now you want to keep this area shooting something that won't break, just in case there's something in there. So you make sure, your best bet would be to actually aim it into a towel or something like that. In this case, we're going to be a little unsafe. So we're going to pull the trigger while the eyes are off. Notice there's a little smoke coming out. I don't know if you can see that, but that would be just excess grease shooting out. And you want to make sure that this is on semi, which is very noticeable, especially when you actually have gas in the gun. Okay, so yeah, it shoots very good. It sounds very nice. It'll probably sound even better with paint in it. So yeah, that's cool. So now we're gonna degas the gun. This stock doesn't come with an on-off, but the ASA is actually not too terrible. It's actually very good. With spool valve guns, you want to make sure that there's no gas in the gun because they do retain gas when even if you pull out the thing, which is why it's very important that you don't point this at anybody. See, that was the last shot, and now there's nothing left. Okay, good. So now we can turn this off, and the last thing we'll do is actually chrono the gun, which I can't do today because it's raining outside, and I don't. Paintballs and rain, generally not a very good idea to mix. Alright, that concludes this portion, and I will see you again soon.